Hey everyone, and welcome to my session about the guild. So happy that you can join. It doesn't really matter who you are, a QA, a product, a developer. We all face the same issue of needing to learn new technologies all the time. It doesn't really matter if it's a new technology, a new concept, or even not just now we're in the middle of a massive change of getting AI in our regular day-to-day job. The fact that we need to learn is not the problem, of course, but the fact that we do not always have the time for that. It's a never ending process. It's not like we would invest a month and that is that, we're good to go. No, we would invest this month and then we would need to invest another month to learn something new. Today in the session, I want to share with you the way I found to solve it. So, my name is Hila Elkayam, and I'm an R&D manager by title, but totally a backend developer by heart, and I work in 1.0. I'm one of the first people who joined the company, and one of the first things that was very, very important for me is to not only develop a very good product, but to also develop an organizational culture. But not a regular organizational culture, but one that is built on continuous learning and knowledge sharing. So I started with building a tech talk, which is kind of a meeting that just share knowledge between teams. And it grew up to be a guild system that is built out of four guilds: backend, mobile, quality, and knowledge. And I want to share with you exactly what are the guilds and how did I build them. So what is a guild? Well, a guild is, you probably know it from somewhere in the Middle Ages, where we had the blacksmith and the weavers and the bakers, and they all used to gather together in order to share their profession and their skills and even just protect their interest. Well, those blacksmiths and weavers and bakers of the Middle Ages are exactly in nowadays are the back end and the front end and the marketeers. And exactly the same, they are gathered together in order to sharpen their skills. If we would want to sum it up, then basically a guild is a group of people that have the same set of skills and that don't necessarily belong to the same group. They can work in different teams or different groups, and they gather together in order to share their knowledge and to learn together, of course. So why do I need it? Well, for me as a developer, I found that learning new technologies is much more easier in a group. But if you would look at the employees and the company, it's a really, really basic win-win situation for both the employee and the company. For the employee, he gets to try out new technologies in his job. It will probably make his job much more interesting. He also have a place within the company to grow professionally, which is not something that you normally get in a company. For the company, of course, they will get throughout this learning and having more professional employees a better product because the employees are much more better and even more creative. The deliveries of the guild itself is also something that the company will use, because even if it's not something that you directly need right now, the standards or the infrastructure that usually a guild builds, eventually it will help to create a better product. But it's much more than that, because for the company, it gets an employees that think of the company as the company that sees them, okay, that wants to invest in them and in their professional growth, and it will eventually make the employees much more engaged in the company. What we're basically building is a community. There's a lot to say about building a community in the place of work, but I want to mention only two things that are the most important things in building a community in the place of work, which is the organizational engagement and the sense of belonging for the employees in the company. Okay, so let's build one. Let's try to understand what do you need in order to build a guild. There are four things you need to know in order to build a guild. You need to follow a checklist. You need to get the consent from the management. You need to follow a set of rules, and you need to open your mind and be flexible. Let's dive into each of the steps and see what they mean. So the first thing, the checklist. You probably think that I would say right now that you need to do this and then this and then this and then this, and shazam, you have a guild. Well, sadly, that's not the way it works. You don't really have a checklist because the guild's purpose is to serve the company it is built for. And exactly like each company is different than one another, the guild will be different from one company to another. So the first thing you need to understand is, why do you need a guild? What purpose will it serve in your company? And I want to give an example for that. When we started building the guilds, we looked at the company and we realized that we do not have a good onboarding process. It got to the point that we have different developers with a different set of skills, according to the skills of the developer who gave the onboarding process to the newcomer. So we decided to build a guild that its entire purpose is to share knowledge, and we called it, of course, the Knowledge Guild. And using this guild, we built a series of 15 lectures that were designated in order to first align the knowledge between all the developers that we have. And we recorded, of course, all those lectures, and now they serve as the onboarding process for newcomers. The second thing is to get consent, and I mean the management approval with a commitment to invest time and money. Why do we need it? Well, we all know it. There's always a very important feature to deliver, a customer that is waiting for something, a bug in production. We don't really have the time to invest in new technologies, building infrastructure, understanding the standards that we want to follow. And I could ask my colleagues to play along and decide with me that we want to take a day in the sprint in order to do all those things that this guild is doing. But it won't last. You know why? Because the other stakeholders in the banks doesn't know that we decided to give this day for the guilds, and they would expect to get the same deliveries. This is why we need the management consent. We want them to say that this is part of the organization value. This is part of what the management believe that needs to be in our R&D department. Okay? So in this way we would get the product and the project to know, to understand that one day in the sprint is designated for the guild staff. They won't expect to have a full sprint working on the deliveries that they used to expect before. The set of rules. The set of rules is a series of questions that you need to ask yourself when you build a guild in order to clarify to yourself, to the company, and the participants how the guild would look like. So let's go over them. The structure. The guild, is it like part of the organization? Is it a team? Or maybe it's on top of the teams? The participants in the guild, are they permanent or maybe temporary? Who is the manager of the team? Regarding the engagement, the developers, do they have to take part in the guild or is it mandatory? For example, we decided that each team has to send at least one representative to the guild. They can send more if they want to, but one is mandatory. And for example, for demos and the presentation, we expect everyone to come. Okay, so the standardization. Well, the standardization is all about how to make it work. So who is defining the tasks of the guild? The deliverables of the guild. How do I make the teams adopt them? And the guild task, how are they related to the company's roadmap? The measurements. So how do I measure how many developers I need in a guild? How do I measure how many deliverables am I expecting the guilds to give me? And the most important thing, how do I measure the business value of the guild? All those things is very, very important because I really need everything to be clarified to the participants and for the company. The participants need to understand what are they getting into, and the company needs to understand what do they need to expect. Be open-minded. Well, let's say that you found the purpose of your guild and you went through all the questions that we just asked and you answer them and you know how your guild would look like. And you got your approval from the management, you did everything and you build the guild, you have it, it's running, it's working. The problem now is that you will probably need to change it. Because the notion we started with is that the guild the guild purpose is to serve the company. Exactly like the company keeps on evolving and changing, the guild would need to evolve and change according to the way the company is changing. So I listed three characteristics that you need to have, like cognitive flexibility, open to criticism, and dynamic and never changing. Because I believe those three characteristics are the things that you need in order to really listen. You need to listen to your colleagues. You need to listen to their criticism in order to understand what is working okay in the guild, what do you need to fix, and to keep on evolving with the way the guild is working. You need to do all the time a lot of fine tunings. If you would listen to your colleagues and you would know what to change, you would understand that their criticism will not only make you grow and make your guild grow. If you would listen to them, you will make them more engaged in the guild and making the decisions in the guild, which will make the guild much more successful. We want the guild to keep on evolving and changing. Why? Because it needs to justify its existence, not only to the company, so it will keep on having it, but also for the employees, because we need them to want to come to want and come and participate in the guild. I want to give an example of the things that we changed. When we started the guild, we decided that each sprint we would give 1 day for the guild's task. That was our first decision. When we started working with the guild, we understood that it doesn't work very well because the participants come, do the guild's task for 1 day, and then go to do their other task for 2 weeks, and then come back for another day. And when they come back, they do not remember what they did in the last day that they were in the guild. So we decided to change it, and instead of 1 day in the sprint, we would take 2 days into sprint. I know it sounds the same, but it's not. It means that we would take 2 days in a row instead of separate them. This way, in 2 days, you would most likely develop something and would not forget in the next time you would come again. But that was not the last change, because the quality guild, which managed all the QA people, the manual and the automation, did not manage to work in this way. The automation people were okay with the 2 days in two sprint, but the manual QA find out that 1 day, like taking a day or 2 days in the entire work day, is very hard for them. So they decided that they will not take a full day and they would just do the task guild with their daily routine, okay, with their daily job, and that works for them very well. So the first thing you need to understand is how to really make it work, how to keep on changing so it will continue to work. The last part is the most important. Is the most important thing. You need to be the culture yourself. You need to model it. You need to set an example. So if, for example, you're building a knowledge guild and you want people to lecture, you have to lecture for yourself. If you want them to share knowledge, you have to share knowledge yourself. And if you're not the one that have a lot to lecture about, well, go to the meetings of the guilds. Bring your people with you. Ask questions. Be very engaged. Make the culture. Stick with it and model it. This way other peoples will follow your lead and do the same. This was my motto when I started the guild, because I really think that when you start a guild, you have a vision in your head, but other peoples that are not mind readers probably don't understand your vision. So you have to put your vision into actions in order for them to understand what are you trying to build. I have to share here a very important story. We just had a presentation skills workshop, which was led by Moran Weber, who organized this beautiful event. And we had this roundtable where people were asked about the reason that they joined this presentation skills workshop. And what they say really took me by surprise. They actually said all the things that I say throughout the year that we build the guilds and are working with them. They said my exact same words. That way, I knew that they were infected in the guild virus. And now that this virus is spreading, I know that I can rest assured that it's actually working the guild. So we showed that the guild can help you and your company grow, and we also showed that the guild has much more benefits than just making you grow. I also explained how the guild was built and the first steps that I took in order to build them, and I really hope that you will take them and build your own guild in your own place of work. I thought a lot about how to end this presentation, and I really hope that you will try to build your own guild system in your own place of work, and that you don't feel that you cannot pull it off, because it's really important to understand that the thing that people say, that anything is possible and that you only need to believe in yourself, it's not just slogans, it's real. Okay, I'm not different or special than anyone else. I just really believed in myself and in my idea of building a guild. And this is why it worked, and this is why people followed me, and we managed to build this entire guild system. So I hope you enjoyed it, and thank you for listening. Bye bye.